Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Sunavalon deck profiles. I'm really excited this week guys because this deck is a really amazing deck. This is one of the few decks still in Yu-Gi-Oh that can actually U-Link your opponent. I really love the way the deck plays because it revolves around using a really cool normal monster in the form of your Sunseed Lochi to be able to link summon all the way into a U-Link against your opponent, essentially locking them out of the extra monster zone. It's a really fun deck to play because it has all sorts of really amazing generic plant support to back the deck up. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to our Patreon along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Sunseed Lochi. This card is a really good card for the deck. It is a normal monster, but it makes all of your plays work in this deck. It's really easy to summon to your side of the field because you're trying to summon this card out as your first play to go into some really insane cards and ultimately you link your opponent. We then play a single copy of the Sunseed Twins. This card is a great combo piece for the deck. I really only think you need one of it because it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon while you control a Sunavalon link monster, then you get to target one level 4 or lower plant normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can also banish this card in your graveyard and a link monster that you control, and if you have 2 or more link plant monsters with the same names, as each other in your graveyard, you can special summon one of them that has the same name as the other, which is a great effect because you play a lot of 2-ofs in the extra deck. We then play a single copy of the Sunseed Shadow. This card is really cool as well because if you control a plant normal monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, basically giving you extending plays in the deck to link climb. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to target a linked Link 2 or lower Sunavalon or Sunvine monster that you control and special summon one monster with the same name from your X deck but negate its effects. And also you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for plant monsters. It's a great combo piece, but I really think you just need one. We then play 3 copies of one of the best plant monsters in the entire game, which is 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom. This card gets you to literally any plant you need in the deck by just tributing it, and is a fantastic playmaker for the deck. We then play a single copy of Aromage Laurel. This card is really good because it has the ability that if your life points are higher than your opponent's, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great card to extend your plays. 1 copy of the Aroma Seraphim. This card is also really good because it has the ability that during your opponent or during either player's turn, you can discard this card to target an aroma monster in your graveyard and gain life points equal to the targeted monster's attack. And then while your life points are higher than your opponent's, you and an aroma monster, and this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. This card is a great 1-of in the deck to help you link climb and just give you an additional special summon. We then play a single copy of Mardell. Mardell comes up a lot in this deck because you're going to be special summoning this card off your Lone Fire Blossom a lot because it has the ability that you can basically add a plant monster from your deck to your hand, which helps out the deck a lot for your consistency to be able to just search literally any plant monster that you need. We then play 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit. Rescue Rabbit is a great card as well because it actually special summons out 2 copies of your Sunseed from the deck, and it just helps out a lot to be able to get those additional monsters on your side of the field, so you can start U-linking. We then play 2 copies of Parallel Xyz. Parallel Xyz is here because you can actually special summon this card to a link zone, which is really good when you link summon a monster, and then it special summons out another Parallel Xyz from the deck. They both become level 4, but it's really handy to give you that additional ability to give you 2 more monsters on the field to start link climbing. We then play 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma just to stop our opponent's hand traps, and a single copy of Driver because you got to play Driver if you're playing Gamma. These are basically just here to stop the opponent from hand trapping you, and you're going to be doing a lot of plays in this deck with just spell cards to start your plays rolling. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good as well because this card helps out to be able to just stop your opponent from touching the deck while you're trying to U-link them. 1 copy of Nibiru and a single copy of Effect Failure because these cards combo very well with your copy of Crossout Designator, which basically stops your opponent from hitting you with hand traps by sending a hand trap from your deck to the graveyard that has the same name. And these are actually great targets for that particular card, and it also helps out a lot with this deck to be able to actually draw into a Nibiru if you do get pushed to go second, and an Effect Veiler to stop your opponent from monster effects. So there are also additional hand traps as well. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells because we're playing quite a few spells in this build. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn just to help us extend our plays. This card comes in very handy to bring back your link monsters to your side of the field so you can start U-linking and even get monsters back so you can start link climbing as well. One copy of 1-for-1 because it gets the exact level 1 that I need on my side of the field when I need it. One copy of Call by the Grave to stop our opponent from hand trapping us, and 3 copies of Crossout Designator. Crossout Designator is a great card in this deck because it does stop your opponent from hand trapping you. I really love this card. It stops cards like Impermanence, it stops cards like Effect Veiler, it can stop your opponent's Gammas, it can stop literally any card in the entire game because you declare one card's name and then banish that card from your deck, and then you stop the card that your opponent activated, which is really good. If they Effect Veiler you, you banish a copy of Effect Veiler and you stop their Effect Veiler, which is a really helpful thing for this deck to be able to do because you want to be able to go into your plays. We then play 3 copies of Unexpected Die. Unexpected Die summons out our copy of our Sunseed because it is a normal monster. 2 copies of Sunvine Shrine. This card is really neat, and I like it as a 2-of. You can activate this card by sending 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, and then while you control a Sunavalon Link monster, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except plant monsters. And then once per turn, during your main phase, you can special summon a level 4 or lower plant null monster from your graveyard, and then once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard and then target 1 continuous trap in the graveyard and set it to your spell and trap card zone, which helps out the deck a lot because you have a really powerful continuous trap card in this deck. We then play 3 copies of one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, which is 3 copies of Sunvine Sowing, which is why I waited so long to actually profile this deck, was because of this card getting released. This card makes the deck work, and it is such a good card for this deck. You can special summon a Sunseed monster from your deck, and if you do, you take 1,000 points of damage. And if you control no Sunavalon Link monsters, you can only special summon Sunseed Lochi with this effect. And for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for plant monsters. And if a plant link monster you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, then you can banish this card from the graveyard instead, which is a great effect just to give you additional plays with this particular card. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps because we actually play 2 traps in this deck. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of the Sunavalon Bloom and a single copy of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is here because it's actually a crossout designator target, and the copy of the Sunavalon Bloom has a great effect that when this card is activated, if you control a Link 4 or higher plant monster, when this card resolves, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. And then during the damage calculation, if your plant link monster battles, you can activate the effect that it gains attack equal to the combined attack of the current all the monsters that it points to until the end of the turn, which is great because you can get a really big Link 4 plant monster on your side of the field and go in for some amazing damage with this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing 3 copies of the Sunavalon Dryas. This card is a great 3-of in the deck because you're going to be link summoning this card all the time. If this card is link summoned by in the extra monster zone using a Sunseed Lochi as a material, you can add a Sunvine spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And this card cannot be targeted for attack, but does not prevent your opponent from attacking you directly. And then once per turn, if you take battle or effect damage, that if you take battle and effect damage, you can gain that much life points, and if you do, special summon a Sunvine monster from your extra deck, which is really good just to give you that additional monster on your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Sunvine Healing. Sunvine Healing is pretty good as a 2-of. I did consider playing it as just 1, but I'm really liking it at 2. That if a Sunavalon Link monster you control leaves the field by a card effect, destroy this card, and if this card is special summon, then you can target 1 Sunavalon Link monster on the field and gain life points equal to its Link rating times 300. And when your Link monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can gain 600 life points, which is why you play the Aroma monsters in the deck because it combos really well with healing. We then play a single copy of the Link 2 tree. This card is really good too because this card cannot be targeted for attacks, but doesn't prevent your opponent from attacking you directly. And twice per turn, if you take battle or effect damage, you can gain that much life points. And if you do, you can special summon one Sunvine monster from your X deck, which helps out the deck a lot to be able to just constantly be link climbing and special summoning out monsters. We then play 2 copies of Sunvine Thrasher. This is going to be one of the main cards that you're going to be OTKing your opponent with, because if a Sunavalon Link monster you control leaves the field, destroy this card. And if this card is special summoned, you can target one Sunavalon Link monster that's face up on the field, and this card gains attack equal to the attack of that monster's Link rating times 800. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to a zone that a Link monster points to but negate its effects. This card is a great card in the deck, and it's a really good OTK piece because it can get absolutely humongous. We're then playing 3 copies of the best Sunavalon card. This card is an absolute crazy card because if this card is link summoned, you can special summon one Sunseed Lochi from your graveyard, and this card cannot be targeted for attacks but does not prevent your opponent from attacking you directly. And then once per turn, you can target a Sunvine Link monster you control, and that this card points to. This turn, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of Sunavalon Link monsters you currently control. This card comes up all the time in this deck, and is a really helpful card to be able to go in with your Thrasher to be able to go in for some really insane damage. We then play a single copy of the Link 4 Sunavalon tree. This card is absolutely insane because it has the ability, if this card is link summoned, you can add a Sunavalon spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects and cannot be targeted for attacks but doesn't prevent them from attacking you directly. And then once per turn, you can tribute a link monster this card points to, destroy any number of cards up to the number of that monster's link rating. That is a really good effect just to be able to pop all sorts of cards that your opponent controls. If you tribute this one, you're going to get 3. You can just get all sorts of really good pops with this card, and it's a great card to actually combo with your Thrasher. We then play a single copy of this card as well. This card is really good because it has the ability that during the main phase, quick effect, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, take damage equal to its attack, and if you did take damage, return that targeted hand. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 2 or more Link monsters from your graveyard whose combined Link rating equal exactly 4, and then special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is really good because this card comes out over and over again. We then play 2 copies of the Aromatherapy Jasmine because you're going to be gaining life points a lot in this deck, and this card just gives you all sorts of different effects because if your life points are higher than your opponent, this card and any plant monster it points to cannot be destroyed by battle, and you can also tribute a monster this card points to special summon a plant monster from your deck in defense position, which comes up a lot in this deck. And also once per turn, if you gain life points, you can add a plant monster from your deck to your hand, which a lot of your Sunavalons actually let you gain life points. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. It's not super expensive to actually build if you don't play the crossout designators, which you can change out for other cards like combo pieces, maybe even changing it out for adding some other plant monsters in the deck to be able to go in for additional plays. If you want to go that route, it is an option because you're already playing the Gammas, but I really wanted to stop my opponent's hand traps, which is why I built the deck this way. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.